again. Welcome to Air Job Boss TV. I am the Air Job Boss, and today is a continuation of our interview question and answer series. And today's question is, what would your current employer say about you? All right. Now, this is pretty easy, right? You can pretty much make things up like, well, I think that they would say I'm a fast learner. I'm friendly to be around. I have a good sense of humor. I work hard. I show up on time, and the people like me, and I'm pretty safe, All right. They hear that from everybody, okay? If they're asking you this question, they're really trying to figure out what is different about this person. Are they going to answer the same way that everybody else answers? And luckily, you're tuned to Air Job Boss TV, so you're not going to answer it the same way. You're going to be smarter than that. Okay, now here is the formulation. Although you're smarter than that, it doesn't require any smarts at all, because you're simply going to think about this. At your job, they have a file on you right now. What is in that file? Boom. The first thing is your training record. What does your training record say about you? Tell them. Here's the question. What would your current employer say about you? You're going to think of the file and say, well, let's start with training. I think my training record reflects that I accomplished everything on time without additional training. I came well prepared, I'm polite, and I'm very helpful to people I train with. As a matter of fact, I make it a point during training to include a lot of other people in my training process, whether it be getting advice from others or having group studies, and working very carefully with my partner on my off time so that we can be well prepared for our next simulator session. Okay, training. What does your training record say about you? Just remember the file, right? The first thing is your training record. That's the first thing. Now, companies are very suspicious about whether you're going to make it through training or not. So this is a big question that they're going to want to have answered. So please, the first thing you bring up is, what would your boss say about you during training? Okay, next thing is, what about your attendance? Okay, so you have an attendance record in your file, right? How many times you call in sick? Were you late? Do you have a missed assignment? Do you show up early? So you're going to say, after the training, I blah, 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 training. I said, I think my employer would say I have an excellent attendance record. I call in sick very rarely. There are times when I'm sick. I know it's my duty to call in sick when I am in a position where I cannot accomplish the flight safely, or I might be contagious to somebody else. And given the COVID experiences of the last 2 years, this has become more and more. But I think I do not show up late. I'm often on time. I am prepared for every flight. I'm my what do you call it? Jeppesen, my logbooks, everything's up to date. I don't know why I'm spacing that one. Up to date. But my attendance record is very solid. Okay? Training record, attendance record. Now, safety record. Do you have anything wrong? Did you do anything wrong? Have you been filing a lot of ASAP reports? Have you been filing a lot of reports to the company when you do something wrong? Now, there's two ways to answer this. One is, yeah, I got a lot of problems and a lot of letters in my file, which you'll downplay a little bit. Or two, no, I don't have anything. So let's go with the first one, safety record. Well, I think my employer, if you look in my file, there has been a couple incidences where I've had to file reports. I file reports if anything goes wrong at all. It's actually in our reporting system, our safety management system, captain's report safety item. So I think he would find that I'm an ardent record collector, and I do write reports to the company to either point out safety problems or ways to improve our things. So I'm very active in participating in our safety management system and writing reports and making sure that those are held up the chain of command for improvement of the operation. Because they might contact your chief pilot, especially if you're coming from a small operator, and call and say, hey, what do you think of their training record? How is their attendance? How is their safety of flight? Things like that. They're going to be able to glean some of this stuff. Now, of course, if you have a revocation, a violation, an incident, or an accident, you're going to maybe want to deal with that during this question, but maybe not either, Okay, now then go to company goals. Do you comply with company policies and are you working toward the company's mission and goals? So you need to say, I think my boss would also tell you that I use my talent, skills, and experience to work for the company's goals. I find that to be a priority of a professional aviator. I don't think a lot of people understand this or have this characteristic, but I do. I make it a priority to come to work and work according to policy to accomplish the company's goals, not necessarily my own. My goals will be accomplished if I'm accomplishing the company goals. And those, I place the company goals in front of my goals, oftentimes knowing that in the long run, it will benefit me. So I think my boss would tell you that I'm very company mission oriented. Okay? Now, what else is in your file that you may have other things in your file that you might want to look at and reflect on? Now, if you can, and this is true of almost every airline, if you have a company file, you have access to review your company file at any time, most cases. So you might want to take, next time you're in training, the chief pilot's office, say, hey, do you mind if I take a look at my company file? You might be surprised. There might be letters of appreciation from other crew members or from customers or managers that you don't even know is in there. And you might find one and say, I think if you look in my company file, my superiors have kept letters of praise from some of the customers that have been in my airplane. I think that my company would tell you that I hold customer service very high. I go out of my way to make customers feel comfortable, safe, and on our planes, and I try to help them even when it is not my necessarily direct duty to do so. I think you'll find letters in my file for that. Okay? So kind of like that. You're gonna basically, and then imagine, if you will, the file that this company that's interviewing is going to keep on you, or what items they keep on their employees, and what they don't like about their employees, obviously. Items that breach employee policies like harassment, tardiness, destruction of company property. All these things, of course, are actually in other employees' files. And if they're not in your file, then you can say, I think my boss would tell you I take very good care of company equipment. I try to maintain all the company equipment, meaning the computers, my iPad, my communication devices given to me, the aircraft, all the ground handling equipment, my luggage, and my uniform, as if I had purchased them myself. Yeah? So try to imagine what might be in other people's files that are negative, and if they're not negative in your file, then you need to tell them that this is one of the aspects your boss would tell you about. Does that give you a little bit more, birth, a little bit more information, a little bit more real estate to work with? You can certainly always say, well, a lot of people would say I'm friendly, but they can tell by the way you're talking in the interview. Now, it's important to say, I think my boss would tell you that I'm not only on time, but I'm early. Because as a person learning something new, like I will be learning how to be effective a member of your company, I need to show up a little bit early to get prepared for each event. Yeah, that's kind of important. So you can say, I'm safe. Well, how are you safe? I think my boss would say that I'm very safety oriented. I know the safety management system very well. I use CRM and threat error management, and I use what we call the feedback loop. If there's anything that I see wrong in our policies, our procedures, or a manual, there is actually paperwork or an email in which I file these reports. This enhances the safety of the airline. So I think my boss, looking at my participation in the safety management system, would tell you that I exceed in safety, right? So if you're going to say something like I'm on time or I'm punctual, then tell a story about it. Explain why. Don't leave it just as, well, I think a lot of people would say I'm a hard worker and I show up on time and I take care of the company equipment. I'm very friendly. I'm very safety oriented. it falls too flat, and you really need to talk for about 5 minutes. Now, I've talked for about 10 minutes, but this is Air Job Boss TV, and you got to get your money's worth somehow, right? Anyway, that's it for today. Follow me, subscribe, share, and comment if you have any suggestions for the other people that view these videos. If you have any questions specifically that you want me to answer on Air Job Boss TV, please leave them in the comments below, or at any time you could email me at info@airjobboss.com. We're going to see you next time.